Let me ask you a question. What's your definition of faith?
I know mine.
My definition of faith. That's a really good question. Trust in the promise that was made to me.
So if you trusted in the promise, and we know that faith is what? The substance of
things hoped for, the evidence of things not
unseen. Right. Ain't had no job. Things hoped for.
The evidence
of things unseen. And the only requirement is mustard seed.
Right. Mustard seed.
So it's amazing. And that's why I enjoy these conversations. Obviously, we joke.
Yeah.
But that's why I enjoy these conversations, because a lot of times when we going through, how all the other stuff
works
that ain't got nothing to do with what we say we believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Comes into play and can cloud when it's like, yo, if the book I read says that he feed the birds, these got nowhere to stay, they eat good. You know what I'm saying? How he not looking out for me?
Right.
Yo, welcome to the cave with Mel, Troy, and Lex. The podcast with men to have a safe space. We on all platforms. You need to tune in, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Welcome to Melody, the podcast with men to have a safe space. Welcome to Melody. Welcome to the cave with Mel, Troy, and Lex.
All right, man, we ready.
We live. Hey, what's going on, man? It's your boy Melly Mel, a.k.a. Melly Badass, a.k.a. Meek Mel, a.k.a. Favorite Truth Teller, a.k.a. if you don't want to know,
don't ask me. It's your boy T-Dot Roy, your neighborhood hope dealer. If you need some hope, I got some you can borrow. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow.
What it do, though? It's your boy Dr. Life Coach Lace, a.k.a. NBA Old Boy, a.k.a. I'm him, a.k.a. Mr. Big Shot, a.k.a. the Menace No Relation to Dennis. Let's get it.
For clarity, and if you watched our last episode, we were trying to figure out what I'm drinking. It's actually pomegranate pink tonic.
Trash.
It is amazing.
Trash.
It's amazing. It's bitter.
I poured it right on out.
Acquired tastes.
I poured that right on out.
And you the only one acquiring it. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Drinking hog water.
Right. Reminds him of home. He said, this reminds me of home.
First of all, I ain't grow up on no farm with no hogs or nothing like that, okay?
You be acting like it.
I did not. I did not at all. That's my grandma and them did, but
I know grandma did.
I did not. They used to grow watermelon and sell it. That was a part of
on
their...
the back of the truck.
On the back of the truck.
On the highway. You just pull over on the...
Actually, I think they did.
Wow,
I
man.
think they was on the highway selling them.
Hey, I ain't gonna hold you though. Sharita, her dad, down the street that they live on, because they live in the country. On the road that they live on, there's a house at like the front of the road that grows watermelon, and they just sit the watermelon out on a cart, and they have like this honor system where people come up and take a watermelon and just drop money into a little, whatever, a can or something like that, and them watermelons was jumping. I got like 3 of them, James.
Yeah.
I went back. I said, I'm gonna put some more in this can. I'm like, hey.
Are they ones with seeds or none?
No, they got seeds in them.
All right, because I've been told, Dr. Sebi done told everybody you got to eat a fruit that got a seed in it. If you don't, then it's
bioengineered.
Yeah, bioengineered. So gotta listen to what Dr. Sebi say.
Yeah, I ain't know that broccoli was man-made until like a couple years ago.
Right.
For real. I used to be tearing
It's
broccoli
not real.
up.
I know it's not.
Oh, okay.
Nah, I didn't know. I was just tearing broccoli up because I was
You
like,
look
this
like
gotta
you
be
would
healthy.
eat
Just
that broccoli. That broccoli was jumping.
Just bite the top of the tree on it, joint.
A little ranch, a little cheese.
Look, I was tearing broccoli up, okay? I did not know it was fake.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. I found out that donkeys.
What? Where did we go from here?
Donkeys ain't a horse. I found out that
Yeah. I forgot which one it is. Hold on, let me look it up.
I found out that donkeys ain't a horse.
Hold on.
That one, that was inexcusable. That was inexcusable. At least when I was a kid, they had broccoli on the health chart.
Right.
On the health pyramid, broccoli was one of the first vegetables that you would see on the joint. So I thought it grew in the ground. So I didn't, okay? That's what they taught me at school.
Okay. So a horse and a donkey make a henny, which is kind of like a mule, I guess. Yes. A mule is the offspring of a male donkey and a female horse.
What is that? How is that relevant to what we talking about?
You said things that you didn't know that were things.
We were
and
talking
I'm
about
just saying,
healthy food, and we were talking about food and health. I brought up broccoli. You talking about donkeys?
Well, we was talking about farms, okay? And so horses, donkeys, and mules are on a farm. So I brought up farm stuff, and we talking about watermelons.
We went from watermelons and fruit and vegetables to donkeys and ass.
I'm telling you, man.
How did we get on this conversation?
I really be wondering though, like when we not around each other, like when you found out that information, you was really like a light bulb went off, like I've got it.
It was one of the random facts that my wife told me one day, and I was like, "Oh, I did not know that." I had to look it up.
Y'all are funny to me. That's all I can say.
Well, you know, my wife studied genetic engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So anything with genetics, human, animal,
Donkey.
donkey. She know about that joint.
Mm-hmm.
She knows about how you can pick a baby's eye color and stuff like that, and you could pick your own gender and things of that nature if you got the bread to do it.
In the lab, I mean, we all kind of learned
Yeah,
that.
you can.
But
Recently, like
when
through
we
TV.
right, we learned this, when
Through TV.
Yeah, through TV. But I've been married for 15 years,
Mhm.
and I found out 15
Congratulations.
years ago about that.
That you could pick your baby and eye color and stuff like that.
I didn't know that.
I mean, that wasn't as popular publicly back then.
Right.
You
So
know?
why y'all ridiculing me?
So y'all was talking about that when y'all was at the Applebee's, like that's like, and you was like,
Hey yo,
wife material.
Hey. No, this was
Questions and look, he
I
took out a paper.
I really want to know
check.
what she was thinking when she was telling you this, and you was.
Look, he was like, look, check.
Listen. Y'all need to empathize on my life experiences.
I mean,
okay?
everybody sitting over there talking all smart and left like this don't know nothing.
I don't know a thing, yo. I don't know nothing.
You don't know nothing.
Oh my goodness.
But that's what it is, man. That's
Yo.
what it is.
I didn't mean to ruin your story, bro. Donkeys and mules and hennies.
Donkeys and hennies make a mule.
Yeah.
No, a mule
horse and a donkey
is an
make a
offspring
henny.
of a male donkey and a female horse.
Got you.
And
I didn't even know they can mate.
Well, anything can
I
make.
was just about to say that. I feel
Well,
like anything with parts.
have offspring. So we can't have offspring with like other species.
I wouldn't know.
So because we have different.
No, I understand that. we get that. I mean, see, this is what I be talking about in the meetings. Look, we understand that. What I'm saying is, look, man, we get that. But you led with mating, not necessarily having offspring. But come on, man, what we talking about here? We get that, man. Go ahead. What we talking about?
We're talking about friends.
Hey man, no. Are we talking about friends?
Yes.
Oh,
No.
we
We're not talking about friends.
We're not talking about friends
We're
right
not.
now.
Actually, I cut that. I cut that part
You
out.
ain't got to cut it out. We just ain't talking about
What we are going to talk about is talking about
life,
jobs,
wins, losses,
career, all that type of stuff.
All that.
You know, one of the most disheartening things I found out a couple weeks ago, I found out that students who are graduating from a 4-year institution, there are a lot of them graduating and making 6 figures coming out at after a 4-year institution. Bruh. First of all, Lord have mercy. When I graduated, I barely made $40,000. Barely. Now, and here's the thing. I understand this. There's going to be somebody who's listening to this is like, 40,000? That's a lot of money. It is.
It ain't.
For somebody, it is.
For somebody.
For somebody,
But in
it
the grand
is.
scheme of life.
In the grand scheme, it's
It's
not.
not.
But 180,000 coming out of undergrad, bruh, that is ridiculous.
But you also got
For real.
to, yeah.
What industry are they in?
Finance and consulting.
That'll do it. That'll do it. It's not a sociology
Right.
degree or something that is a human service degree.
You're just not going to make a lot of money with human service, and a lot of people are majoring in human services type
Because they want to
degrees.
change the world, not
Yeah,
get the bag.
and if you want to change the world, you don't want money.
That's the thing, bro. Why is that?
That's a tale as
Yeah,
old as
like-
time, my brother. I mean,
Why would because you know what? You know why? Because people who think that people do service feel like it should just be done from the good of your heart, and you shouldn't profit from it.
mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So if people like you should just do it because you want to be kind or be nice, you shouldn't have to get anything for being nice.
Yeah.
And then people demonize you if you get money for doing nice things.
That's true.
So that's why I feel like service jobs don't get paid what they should, because people feel like if you're executing a service, depending on what field you're in, people feel like you should just be doing it out of the kindness of your heart and you shouldn't be worried about the money.
I think that teachers probably should make the most money because they be dealing with YNs on a regular basis.
Oh, they absolutely should. I mean, I'm not gonna say make the most.
I think they should get paid.
They
more.
should make more.
They should be able to make more money.
They absolutely should. But when you are looking at it from a lens of just think about where we're at, when the system is $14 million in debt, how am I pay teachers who are overflowing classroom resources ain't there? That's when we talk about systems. Educational system is all systematic. That's all systematic. So that is definitely a labor of love, because I know I couldn't teach one day. I had enough trouble with college level students, so I already know.
Oh, what was
K
you
through
teaching?
12. I was teaching organizational behaviors in business.
Oh, yeah. If he could teach one thing, that could be the one he could teach.
I ain't gonna say nothing. This who educating the world. I just want people to. Y'all paying $1,000 send y'all kids to college and lace at the front of your class.
Absolutely, and they all left with something. They all left with something. Like I used to tell my students.
$60,000
Hear
in
me
debt
out,
and
hear
lace
me
standing
out.
at the front of the class.
Like I used to tell my students, you may have failed the test, but you got the lesson, and that's what it is. That's what it is.
I would have went straight to FA. I want my money back for organizational behavior and business.
For what?
I want my money, but I want a refund for this class.
Man, they love my class, bro.
I'm sure
bet you they
They
did.
loved it. They loved
I'm sure
it.
they did.
Real life lessons in how you need to carry yourself.
Who was grading the papers?
Oh, I had a TA for all of that
See?
stuff. I just teach. What you mean? You
Just
just read
teach.
no papers.
Lace is like a substitute.
I'm not.
I imagine that you ran your classroom as like a substitute teacher.
No, legit. I was fully engaged with the class. With
Yeah,
my
the
class.
substitutes be fully engaged.
No,
They
I'm
just
saying
don't-
like legit. We had great projects. All that. Like it was really engaging class.
What type of projects? Now you got me.
For sure. No, I had them build out their own business from an entrepreneurial lens. So they had to pick the concept, how they would market it, how they would make money, how they would pitch it, all that kind of thing. As far as like organizational behaviors, how to handle conflict appropriately in the workplace. Also, one of the other major projects is looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how that applies into the workplace as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of different concepts leading from the front. All of that, man.
hate
Come on,
this
man.
dude.
I do this, man. I
hate
do
Lace,
this. I do this.
I hate Lace, yo.
Why?
Yo,
I'm
why?
You know, bro. You know
Because
what?
I'm multifaceted.
This is why this podcast is so funny, bro. This is why this podcast is so funny, because each one of us knows how to turn it on when we have to.
Oh, got to.
Because he
Come on,
legit
man.
just turned it on just
Come on,
now.
man.
When I
He
was
did.
asking him like to be casual,
He did.
and he didn't have to do that.
I'm just,
He
I mean, you
went into
asked.
it.
I ain't know.
It's cool, bro. It's cool, man.
You might fail the test. Make sure you get the lesson. That's
Hey.
life, baby.
But with these, with the salaries and stuff that people are making, man, it can be very daunting. And when you are happy where you are, you have a tendency to still want to look out and see if there's something else out there.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Specifically, if you're trying to make more
Damn,
money.
sound like Melvin talking about the housewarming.
Sound like Lace trying to pray.
He said, "Sip it, sip it." God,
Sound like
dog.
Lace
I'm trying
to
to
pray.
get to something. So, a number of my homies.
Lace was like Big G.
I know my grandma
We come
heard
take-
you when you said Big G. She was like, "Who is Big
Hey,
G?"
she better get to know him.
Like that's Lace's prayer. Big G.
Better get
Big
to
G.
know him.
We just out here. Help us this day as we eat these chicken tenders.
That was absolutely not my
Yo,
prayer.
this
That was
cannot
absolutely
pray, bro.
not.
Don't pray. All right, go ahead.
Go
Before
ahead
we get
with
distracted,
your story,
bro.
man.
Before we get distracted, go ahead.
I got this one friend. Every single time he interviews, he gets an offer for a job. I don't understand that, bruh. How you get an offer every time you interview?
That's me.
That's
you get an
real.
offer every time?
If I get a chance to get to the interview, I get the job. If I don't get to the interview, like if I just get the
Yeah, right.
we went in a different direction, email,
Mhm.
whatever, that's fine. But if I can get an interview, I've never had an interview and not gotten the job that I've
Mhm.
interviewed for.
Are you serious?
I promise you, I never have.
Now that I think about it, hold on. Let me reflect.
I never have. That's my belief. As long as I can get to an interview, I can get the job. Once I can start talking and like putting my skills on display
Yeah, if
and
I
having
get
a
an
conversation,
in-person,
I have never
That's a
had
wrap.
an in-person interview and not got the
Yeah.
job.
Thank y'all for helping me with my imposter syndrome.
It's not imposter syndrome. I'm just
But-
so
go ahead. Go ahead.
it's so okay. This is the thing. A lot of times with the interview process, and even being someone who's had to conduct the interviews and stuff like that and do the hiring, a lot of people come to the interview and they're qualified for the job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The reason why you got to the interview is
'Cause
because
you're
you're qualified.
Yeah.
We looked at the paperwork and we believe that you're capable of doing this job. But
Mhm.
for some reason, when you get to the interview, whether it's nerves or you haven't practiced or you caught off guard, you don't do a good enough job of articulating your impact for the role and just participating in the interview. And when someone else can better articulate
Yeah.
their plan or their impact or whatever it is, it makes them stand out.
Yeah.
Y'all could be equal on paper,
Yeah.
but if we get in that room and I have a different language or different conversation than you, it could elevate me, you know what I'm saying, in the interview process. Although you may even have more education,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, more experience than me. But once I can start talking, sometimes that experience stuff goes out the window. Like people, when you get into interviews, like, and I know people harp on titles and all that stuff that they put on their resume, like that stuff is good for getting there.
Yeah.
Once you get to the interview,
You got to talk the talk.
you got to talk the talk. You have to talk the talk. You have to be able to, walk the walk and all that other type of stuff when you go in the room. And sometimes, even if you don't have everything that the job description you would ask for on paper,
Yeah.
if you can articulate why you may lack some of those, or if you can articulate the ones that are strong on your
Mhm.
paper, I'll overlook the rest of that stuff. Like people don't, like I see people, they put, create a resume, they put their graduation year. I graduated with my bachelor's in 2007 to 2009 because that to them makes it seem like I've been educated for a long time.
Right.
So I'm qualified. I don't care when you got your degree.
Mhm.
Did you get one?
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
you get one? Yes or no? All right, you got one? Cool. I look at that. I look at titles really quickly to go. Like people skim the resume. Like if I'll use director of marketing for an example. If I see that we have a director of marketing position open, I'm looking at the resume. What quick titles can I see that align with this
Right.
position? If I see that quickly on this thing and I can quickly see the skills, all right, I got it. Cool. I'll push it to the side. If I can't tell that story right away from the resume, decline. Because now I'm working too hard to put the pieces together. I'm getting a lot of applications. I ain't got time to read every single cover letter, whatever. So I'm skimming this resume quickly. By the time I find the stack that could meet the whatever, then I go through the interview process and I may ask more in-depth questions and learn about those people. And then that is where you really sell yourself, is in the interview, not necessarily on the resume.
Sometimes, though, however, when it comes to people who get the interview, I have seen that we are just inviting people to be a part of it because we have to have at least 3 candidates.
That's true too.
Yeah, which is,
Legal.
I mean, you don't have to have 3 candidates.
They don't have to have 3 candidates, but they have to post the position and do interviews to make it seem like they had a fair hiring process.
Right.
Depending on if it's internal or external.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I seen a joint before where we were hiring for a coordinator and we interviewed someone with a doctoral degree.
What's wrong with that? What if they want to be a coordinator?
Okay. All right. Fair. It's the entry level role that you don't even need a degree for.
Mhm.
What if they don't have entry? What if they only have entry level experience because they've been a student?
They had experience.
No.
They had experience. And I'm like, why are we entertaining this?
Mhm.
These people don't want the job. They want the opportunity that the job brings.
Isn't that why anybody would want the job?
I mean, it's true.
Did you not hear yourself?
They don't want the job. They want the opportunities that the job bring.
No,
That sounds like a reason to take.
sound like a reason to get a yeah.
Make it make sense. So I think for you, Troy, I think that you're 100% qualified for a lot of these jobs, which is why you keep getting the interviews and why you keep getting the considerations. I think you just may be too far into your head about if you're qualified enough for the job when you go into the interview, and it may be impacting your ability to articulate, because you do a good job of articulating. You do it all the time, like with the pod, expressing value and things like that. But I think maybe going into the interview, you could potentially be getting nervous and just overthinking the process, and it may be holding you back from really displaying yourself the way you want to when you go in there. So then when you don't succeed, you leave feeling like, oh dang, I wasn't good enough for the role. But you are, because you keep getting asked, about it. So I think maybe even if it's just practicing what the interview questions may be, like even if you have to Google, like, what are some interview questions that I might get for this role, or even ask ChatGPT, like, what are some of the questions that I might get? And then you can kind of start practicing your replies to those questions. Like, that's one thing I know. Like, when you go into an interview, there's just certain things that you're going to get asked every time you go into an interview. Everyone's going to say, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. They'll say, I looked at your resume. I know, but tell me a little bit about yourself. And a lot of people stumble over, tell me about yourself.
Because they don't know,
Like, they can't.
They know themselves.
Yeah, like, they can't.
What's on the paper?
So like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself. Yes, tell me where you're from, all that. But don't give me my hobbies are golfing on the weekend and stuff like that.
I don't even want to hear that.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
question in the interview process, I want to hear more
relevance to this role, what you did
how
in your career,
lead,
how you got here. Right.
Not even what's on paper, more so the intangible skill set. Let's talk about, okay, I'm a servant leader. This is how, particularly if you're doing like a leadership role, this is how I connect and engage with this population. This is how I lead people. This is how it's transferable to aspects of the work, etc. But as far as like you playing golf, I don't care nothing about that. I don't care how many cats you got. I don't care how many dogs you got. But when they say that,
it makes it like when I'm interviewing people, yes, tell me how you connect to this role. Most definitely. I do also want to know a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Why?
Like what's your favorite TV show?
I don't need to know that right now.
Why?
Like in this
We're
moment
not
right
friends.
now, I don't need to know.
We're not friends.
And I'm gonna keep it a thou wow with you. You've said this before. The majority of the jobs that we have, you don't even need a degree to do it.
No, it's
you
all
don't need a
skill.
degree.
Anything can be taught.
A lot of the times when I'm looking at candidates, first, and you're 100% right. If I looked at your resume and I invited you in for an interview, I know that you can do the job, right? I'm trying to see if you're gonna be a good fit.
Bias.
You're looking at cultural fit.
Cultural fit.
Not good.
I mean, that is
That's
important
not a
in the
good
interview
reason.
process as well.
That's
It's not
not
a good reason.
bias.
That's
It's
part
not a
of
good
the
reason.
I definitely think that that's a quality aspect.
It's a
of the
terrible reason.
That's
to be
a
quite
quality
honest.
aspect of the.
It's not though.
It is.
But it's not.
How is that
You have to
biased?
take
Because
you have to take culture fit into a
What is
situation.
fit? What does that mean?
You have to take culture fit into consideration.
What does
And
that
by
mean,
culture
though?
fit, I'm
If-
about to explain what Jesus Christ.
And I'm gonna tell you why it's biased. Go
Culture
ahead.
fit, it can be. I'm
No,
not,
it
I'm not
is.
disagreeing with. No, I'm not. It can be, but when you're talking about culture fit should be aligning with the company's culture code. So most companies have a culture code. These are our 6 principles.
Right.
These are the integrity, work ethic, whatever their 5 or 6 is.
Right.
That is considered the culture code for that place. So when I'm interviewing people for culture fit, I should be aligning my conversation with them based on, do they fit the 6 principles that we have, not on if I think he gonna sit well with Corey at the coffee pot and talk or whatever it is. And that is where I feel like
That's
it
bias.
could get biased.
Yes.
But
So-
if we're talking objectively, these are our core principles. Do I see those in this person as we're having this conversation?
And you
I
think
feel
you
like
can
that's-
gauge that from one in-person interview?
I mean, you could ask some
I
questions.
think that there are certain
But
things
do
that
people
you
generally ask those questions? No, they don't.
depending on the
I
intent of
guarantee
the
you right
interview.
now, where you work, if you ask somebody the mission statement of the place,
It ain't about the mission.
Oh,
statement.
ain't nobody gonna
this
know
is
the
what I'm
mission
saying. So
statement.
people
Asking
not
about the
even
mission
people not
statement.
even living the mission, vision, values off rip. So they not asking those questions.
I would say
in
in
an
some
interview.
environments,
So
people
generally,
are
when
doing
people
that.
are talking about culture fit, it's just like if I vibe with this person, if I like them in an interview, which is biased. That ain't got nothing to do with culture fit.
It could be a mix.
If you
of
really
both.
think about it, think about all the interviews you sat in. Ain't nobody asked nothing about this is how this work aligns with. Nobody does that.
It's not about work. It's not necessarily about work. Like, okay, part of being a good interviewer is also being a good judge of character, which is also part
agree
of
with
being
that.
a leader as well.
Sure.
And the more experience you have in that space, the more you're able to quickly identify intangibles in people versus not. So again, when you're talking about alignment with culture and the environment and culture fit. When I do interviews with people, once I realize that they have the experience, I could tell you have the experience. So I'm not wasting time a lot of the interview asking, tell me how you would handle blank situation.
Yeah, right.
I think that's irrelevant. I know that you have the experience. I know that you could do the job. We've clearly had a back and forth, and I know that you understand the language and how things are supposed to work. Now I need to get into these intangibles. I need to see how you will operate because I know this environment.
Correct.
I know what you're stepping into. I know what's necessary for this environment. So the questions that I may ask are going to be along the lines of, can I identify through these series of questions that I came up with,
Right.
if this person is going to be a good culture fit in this space? Because that is just as important as the skill set. And that is why a lot of work environments are terrible, because people are being hired for their skills and not necessarily for if they're good for this environment. There's more to a workplace than can they do this job.
I wholeheartedly agree.
So in some way, that's what I'm saying. It can be biased because we know that nepotism exists in the workplace as well. Are they cool? If I'm cool, you might get the job because we cool. But I don't think that we should just paint. I'll use one of your phrases: paint a broad brush with culture fit, because there are layers to that, conversation.
Correct. Because I mean, think about it too. What if we're talking culture? What if the work culture is trash, and I'm bringing A1 skills, experience, etc.? I'm not going to be a culture fit because your culture is trash.
Right. But if you A1 in your skills and the culture is trash, would you want to bring your A1 skills into a trash working environment?
That's what I'm saying. But if you're on the other side of that, you have the power to say yay or nay to what I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Saying culture fit is biased because if the culture is already trash, why you want me to bring?
So my question. So
Like,
what do you look for when you're hiring then?
When I'm hiring, I kind of take, obviously every workplace has a culture, so I'm not gonna say that's not biased. What I bring as far as looking at skill set is more so soft skills. How can we forge the mission, vision, and values for, but also how this individual can come in with their own philosophy and apply it to whatever framework that we are operating within. Okay. So looking at if I have a forward-facing student position, how you may interact with students. So I would have you.
That's biased.
No. What I'm saying is I'm going to actually have you sit with students and
have
a
process.
Absolutely, I had students on my panel.
Yeah, I've done
absolutely.
Yeah.
Or I'm having to go to lunch with students, a group of student leaders or something like that. So I'm going to actually have other people that you are going to have to engage with and deal with on a very regular basis involved in that process.
But most companies do that now.
A lot of companies do.
And that's why there's so many series rounds of interviews, because they're trying to get you FaceTime with all these other.
Right. I'm more so speaking from a higher education lens because that's literally every higher ed.
I got you.
Process as it pertains to like even in the medical space, healthcare space, you see that a lot now too, where you have a panel or whatnot. But a lot of people, like I said, they don't. Culture fit is very, like I said, it can be very broad. It's a spectrum in that regard. But I think a lot of people look for more so fit rather than what can somebody bring to the table differently. And that's what I look for to answer the question.
I got you.
What are you bringing to the table that is different than
what we have?
Because if we just want to keep the status quo, then
I don't think it's about keeping the status quo all the time.
I'm saying let's think realistically. Most places, it's about status quo. It's not how we talk. We hear the word innovation all the time. Ain't nobody. Come on. Come on.
Yeah,
some companies, yes.
Some, but that's the space
that
they're in.
But that's just the word. Yeah.
That's the space that they're in. Yeah. But if you look at most systems,
they don't want you to innovate.
They want you to work. Yeah. They want you to be a cog in the system.
So I'm not looking for sheep to bring to my team.
Me neither. I don't want sheep.
So if I want
sheep
that,
got to be told what to do,
and that's what I'm saying.
Sheep got to be led. I'm not looking for sheep.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I look for.
I got you,
and that's why I talk about culture fit. That is culture fit. Are they a sheep? You say you're using culture fit language right now.
I just don't like fit.
Me either.
I like culture. I don't like fit.
I feel you on the fit piece because someone, personality, all that type of stuff.
He understands that it's just like sports teams. You got to consider fit when you talk about players. A company is a team of players in a different sense. I'm building a team of players, so I got to worry about
that's a good
fit.
point. Yeah,
so I got to consider fit. Does this person fit the system? Do they fit the culture? Do they align with what is going on
I don't
over
know
here?
if that's
You can say
apples
that
to apples.
it is very much apples to apples.
I don't know if that's-
It is
go to.
very
I don't
much
know.
apples to
I don't know
apples.
if
Like,
that's
this is a
apples to
very
apples.
much.
I don't
This
know
is
if
a
that's
very
apples to
much
apples.
apples to apples conversation.
I mean,
That's
are they not both jobs?
It is the
No, it's
same.
definitely a
It's
job.
not even a job. It's that we're talking about the same thing: a system and a team of people that need to work together to accomplish something. So if I'm putting together a team, fit matters.
Yeah.
Skills and fit have to go hand in hand with one another. So to say that fit is biased
Fit
and
is
paint
biased.
a broad brush with fit, no, because you can literally identify objectively, is this person a good fit for this role?
And
or
this
not?
is how I know that fit is biased, right? We all have played a sport.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You have played, at
8th grade basketball.
We hoop. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I know Troy because me and him are friends,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
So when Troy show up to hoop,
Oh my gosh.
if I'm picking the team,
You pick Troy.
I don't. Because he don't fit
Right.
if we're using the fit word.
Okay.
But if Troy is on my team, I know what I am essentially getting.
Mhm.
He has a small role into the team's success. He might not
Emphasis on
fit.
small.
He might not fit.
See how he diminished me?
He might not fit into the system as the solidified piece around it. But I know at least what he's still. I know I'm at least get 5 rebounds. I ain't gonna get no points out of him. He go foul and all of that. But I know what he's bringing to the table. That's not necessarily a fit.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why you would not select him for your team.
But I'm saying if I
But
did,
you objectively know he bringing 5 rebounds, 5 fouls, and no
but
points.
that ain't got nothing to do with fit. I still need those rebounds. But that ain't got nothing to do with fit. That's what I'm saying.
But it do, because you would look at that situation and say, Troy is not a good fit for this team because of what we trying to do. And you know that objectively because you've seen him in action. His court play is basically his resume. You looked at his resume and his gameplay is like a company interview.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why we're using this.
I know.
I'm sorry.
No,
bro.
because Lace
I don't know
wanted to
why
take a
Lace
dig at
started
me. Lace wanted to take a dig at me about basketball because he knew I just won a championship, and
Look.
I'm still lamenting over 8th grade basketball and
Lace
JV
started
in
it.
high school.
So I'm just using you because Lace, that's what Lace took it. So I'm saying like fit, you're looking at him and being like, this does not fit because
If I want to win,
you know
Troy
you can't
is
take
not
Troy.
the fit.
Right.
What I'm saying
And
is,
that's
hear me
culture
out.
fit.
Let me finish. But as far as personality, likable, all the things that people generally choose people for their team for, he has that. But as far as fit is what we're trying to accomplish,
Right. That
ain't-
is not a culture fit then.
It's not a fit per se.
But it's not a culture fit either though.
But
a
I
fit
can
is a
still-
fit is a fit. Whether
but
you
I-
say culture, whether you say whether you
Not
say
Troy fed
culture,
up. Not Troy.
whether you say player stats, it don't matter. A fit is a fit is a fit. All right, then let's move
Move
on.
on.
Jeez Louise.
My boy Troy was in tight.
You're pissing me off. Okay.
Troy tight. Hey,
But I do want to bring we talk about jobs and stuff like that, and it's tough out here.
Yeah.
It's tough out here.
tough.
It's tough for people with interviews, and we see a lot of people getting laid off. And we seen it in the national sense, in the sense, in the government, people getting laid off, and we also seeing it on a personal level and stuff like that. And it's really tough. People are scrambling, because bro, eggs are going up in price. And gas ain't went down ever since whenever. I mean, bruh, it's not. And so it's really tough out here, and we seeing people and going through this whole process. And I really feel for those people who are going through and stuff like that.
yeah, it's crazy, man. So we gonna get into it?
Yeah.
We gonna get it. All right, cool. So y'all know we had a little hiatus or whatever. Everybody had life going on. Life is lifing, but we back, man. We had to take some breaks. We had to handle some things, and I'm always transparent on this pod. We talk about the wins and everything like that. So we got to talk about the losses as well. So your boy lost his job, man. So that's why we had to take a little hiatus, had to get some things together. Whatever. I got laid off from work. After putting in some great time with the company, blood, sweat, and tears. In a lot of ways, helping to build and reshape whatever. But they hit a rough patch. Finances weren't looking as well as they should have looked, and I was an expensive employee. So I was one of the first people to get the boot or whatever. So it worked out though. You know what I'm saying? We got myself together. I got a new job, you know what I'm saying, in a new space. I'm a director of marketing at another agency now, which is actually larger than the one that I left. But it wasn't initially like a letdown, you know what I'm saying? Especially because y'all hear me talk on this pod a lot just about my family and things like that, and how seriously I take that responsibility or whatever. So provision to me is like
one of the top priorities.
I hang my hat on that. Like being able to cash my family out, cash my wife out, whatever it is, like I take that personal. So then when my like source of income would seem to be taken away from me in that ability, it definitely, I'm not gonna say negatively affected me, but it definitely makes you pause and be like, all right, yo, I gotta make something happen. I gotta make something, you know what I'm saying, shake, whatever it was. But it was a crazy situation, yo. They came to me I say like mid to end day. I don't know why people let you work the whole day. Before
I'm gonna let you work all day.
I don't know why people let you work all day.
Why you do that, man?
Work still gotta get done.
Yeah, it is crazy. I don't know why people do that, but yeah, definitely came to me at the end of the day. Kind of laid it out there about just how things were looking, how they were shaped. Obviously, unfortunate news or whatever like that. I think I was more upset at the fact that I didn't leave on my own terms. Like I like to be in control of the situation. So if I had left and I put in my 2-week notice, it would have been fine. But because I was pushed out, it made me feel a certain type of way. You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
crazy.
I just was like, what?
That's crazy.
What?
That we have that mentality. Like if I left on my own terms, I'd be cool with it. But things happen. Obviously, nobody wants to be laid off. But the fact that you took it like, dang, like how could they do me like that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, because of the amount of work that I put in. Like if y'all like, I completely I'm not gonna say reshape that company, but I did so much work to get it to where it had gotten to. Rebuilding teams, rebuilding processes, all type of stuff. Like just reinventing projects, finding gaps in the market, like all types of things to help that company get to where they are, for them to then, it seems like, not appreciate it by laying me off or whatever. So that's how originally you would feel. You know what I'm saying? In that situation, because you like, dang, I didn't gave, and and now I ain't got, nothing left, whatever like that. But in that moment, I think like that was probably the first time in a long time that I didn't let Melvin take over the situation. If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. Because we joke all the time about me just being short fused or short tempered or whatever like that. And I'll crash out. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't care. Once I get to that point, we in
the viewers.
Hey, I'm just saying, y'all know, they know.
Simple synopsis. I think we can put that.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm quick to crash out. You know what I'm saying? I'll crash out on the situation if I feel like I'm being, disrespected or overlooked or something like that, and I won't. You know what I'm saying? Like, think twice about it. And it ain't the first time I've been laid off or anything like that. Like, I've been laid off before. I've been fired before. Like, all type of stuff. But remind me to never go on a couples trip again. Because every time I get ready to go on a couples trip, I get laid off. I get laid off from work. The last time I went on a couples trip was with Troy and his wife and some other married couples. The day before we were supposed to leave, I got laid off from work and still had to go on vacation and act like I was happy to be there.
You might as well.
You know what I'm saying? So I went anyway while we was on vacation, whatever. But the whole time, remembering that when I go home, I ain't got no job. I got to, what I'm saying, do something.
Maybe the Lord let that happen because He knew you would crash out if you be at the crib by yourself for a couple days, like marinating on, I just got laid off.
Yeah.
And He let you be around some other people.
I would have just got to work because that's what I do. I always find a way to figure it out.
So
with
maybe
God's
you
help,
needed that
you know
pause.
what I'm saying? So it's just, I'm just saying, but I got laid off. So then this year, I was about to go on a couples trip. Day before we were supposed to go on a couples trip, I get laid off. I'm like, I'm not going on couples trips because every time I get ready to go on, I get laid off. But anyway, they, was delivering me the news, explaining the situation, explaining why, I'm asking my questions and stuff like that. And in that moment, I literally was just like, I could have an attitude, I could be upset, I could crash out. But is that going to change anything for me in this moment? And the answer was no, because they had already made their decision about, what they were going to do. And I, being at this level, you know how the game is played when you get ready to lay someone off or you get ready to fire them. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a surprise to you when you get the information, but that takes weeks and sometimes months to put in place to fire somebody, let somebody go. So for you to be delivering me this news today means that you made your decision
Sometimes
a while
Somebody
ago.
had been tracking
what I'm saying?
analytics.
It wasn't even the analytics. It was just like you had already determined that financially where we are right
That's what
now.
I'm saying,
And so, you know what I'm
analytics
saying?
in that-
Yeah,
in that
like if
regard.
something happens, then I gotta, get rid of this person or whatever. So you explain the situation, obviously financial reasons and blah blah blah. And believe it or not, I actually thanked them in that moment. I said, obviously, I'm disappointed at the information. No one wants to be laid off. I'm sad that I'm leaving on these terms because, I obviously knew it wasn't going to last forever, but I thought it was going to end differently, and I just said, while I'm not happy about the news, I appreciate the opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I thank you for what you did for me, et cetera, like that, because they did give me an opportunity to do some things there that I wouldn't have been able to do at other places, and I did get a lot more skills in a lot of ways because they gave me the freedom to do so. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I appreciate, you know what I'm saying, what you did for me or whatever. And, I just look ahead to what's, next for me or whatever. The funny thing about that was the director of ops had got laid off right before me. I had a meeting at 1:30 and it was supposed to be all of us in this meeting. And she actually texted me right before the meeting and said, I just got laid off, so I'm not going to be at your meeting or whatever like that. So I was already like, hey, that's when I text y'all.
Right.
I text y'all right before my meeting. After she got the news,
Yeah.
I was like, well, if they, getting ready to lay her off, I could be up next. So I text y'all like, hey, lift up a prayer for your boy. I'm about to go into this meeting. I might be getting laid off. I wasn't really talking to Lace. I was talking to because I knew Lace was going. Come on, bro. I was like, no. I'm really talking to Troy because I know Troy.
That's crazy.
I know.
I went in. I was praying.
Bro, I know because Lace would have been like, Big G.
Big G.
Mel out here going through it. Do
Going
what you
through.
do.
Cover
Do what you
him,
do.
Lord.
Listen, when you use pronouns with the Lord, that means you got a personal
Relational.
You got a relationship.
Relational. You see what I'm saying? It's relational.
Hey. So when I went into the meeting, I was like, I knew that it could be a possibility, but I wasn't sure. You know what I'm saying? And I thanked and everything like that. I hung my hat. And what I probably shouldn't have done, fellas, don't do this. I'm gonna look at the camera. Husbands, men, don't do what I did. Don't do this. Don't text your wife while she at work in the middle of the day and tell her you about to lose your job. That's not a good thing to do. Don't do that. I don't know what I was thinking.
She spazzed.
When I did. She didn't spaz, but I thought about it after the fact. When your wife puts a lot of trust in you to provide and all that type of stuff, the last thing your wife would hear is that you don't have no job.
Yeah.
Because in her mind, she's like, we got the kids, we got the house, we got all this stuff. Like, now we got to figure, it creates uncertainty,
Right.
Or whatever. And I should have delivered that information at home and not disrupted her work day by telling her that information. But because we were in the middle of having conversation already about something else, I was just like, look, this just happened. I'm about to go into this whatever, so this could be, a thing, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't until after I told her that I was like, I probably should have saved that information for when she gets home. But she took it like a G. You know what I'm
I bet
saying?
you she was probably thankful too, because that's a vulnerable moment. You know what I'm saying? To let you know that, hey, this is uncertain, and I'm letting you in on this. I get dinged on that a lot. I've actually stopped sharing with our group first. Because I'll be like, because if something happened, I'll be like, I gotta let the fellas know. It's like, you know what? Let me include my wife in on this. Quit. What is wrong with you?
Because I'm listening.
Because I realized that I don't know why it is very easy to be vulnerable with the fellas. It is very easy. I think so much too, because we share, we're open, we don't. Well, let me take it back. I am halfway vulnerable with y'all, because the moment that I share any story about middle school basketball,
That's Lace.
Pizza Hut meets, anything of that nature, y'all not gonna show any empathy or sympathy for me in any of those moments. But if it's like a true life type thing, I can always come to the fellas, and it's gonna be some type of harmony, some type
And
of
sympathy
peace,
and empathy
sympathy,
and prayer and
empathy,
support and stuff like
all
that.
type of stuff.
You just gotta start doing a better job of telling us when this is serious.
Right.
Because we don't be knowing, and then we start talking about it, and then we can tell that you feel a certain type of way, and then we be like, "Oh, that's serious. Okay, all right, let me calm down."
That's the reason why I ain't text y'all after I saw that movie. I ain't text y'all. I was like, let me just
Save it.
and I'll talk
Because
to y'all
Lace
in
would have
person.
sent back a voice note laughing and yo.
So
yeah,
anyway, you let her know.
I let her know. She took it like a G. She did not, worry anything like that. She literally
Was that surprising to you?
a little bit because I know that she does have a tendency to worry. I think, sometimes wives do that to you, like when something is important to them and they don't feel like that they see a clear path forward. They'll keep asking you like, what are we gonna do about it? What are you gonna? And because they want to hear your plan or whatever.
Yeah.
So in some ways, because I know that about her, is why I said I probably should have waited until
Yeah.
she got home. But she basically was like, "Look, don't worry about it. If it is so, keep your head up. Whatever it is, just walk into it.
Keep your head up.
Confidently or whatever it was." So I took that with me, into the meeting, listening to her or whatever. So I was glad I did text her, but I was probably at the same time like I should have saved that for later or whatever it was. So
Did it comfort you that she was like, it's gonna be okay?
yeah, I'll tell you what, I was gonna get to that too. And I'll tell you why I felt like that. Because after the situation, I did get back to y'all. I was like, hey, they dropped a big one on me. You know what I'm saying? They laid me off, whatever like that. And I wasn't really worried about it. Like in some ways, because of how work had been going anyway, I kind of was just like, all right, cool. I mean, at least for a couple months, I'm gonna get to take a break or, whatever it is. I pulled up the unemployment website and everything. I was like, let me go ahead and put this little, unemployment in or whatever. I didn't even finish the application or the process or anything like that.
And you've been looking for a change.
Yeah, I've been looking for a change, anyway, whatever, but I wasn't moving as quickly as I probably should have anyway.
Life lesson in that.
And I was going to get to that too. I was going to get to that
Life
too.
lesson.
So I had been flirting with it. Like applying for jobs and stuff like that. And I had been flirting with interviews and things. But then as soon as people would say like some office days, whatever it was, I'd be like, no, thank you. I'm good. Or I'd just be like, all right, I'm going to just one more year. I say one more year and I'm going to do it. So I wasn't like really elevating as much as I should, like personally, how I usually would do, because I was just chilling or whatever. So I think that had a lot to do with it as well, like why I didn't feel a way, probably as much as I could have. But the crazy thing was, after that, I reached back out to the director of ops who got laid off, and I told her, I said, yeah, I just got laid off too, whatever. So she was telling me her experience, and she was like, how she cussed him out. She went off about, the whole situation, how she was offended and everything like that. And I didn't really share my experience. I just let her vent about the situation. I could tell she was frustrated or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I had kind of walked away from it. I was going to leave it alone. I wasn't going to do nothing about it. And about 2 hours later, my same boss that laid me off, I'm assuming, because of how I handled the situation. I'm not going to say assuming. I think that he felt bad about what he was doing because of how I responded to the situation. And in that, he was like, look, I have a friend at another agency that's larger than this one, and they have a position for a director of marketing open, and I think you'll be a good fit for it. Do you mind if I reach out to him and put in a word for you for the job, whatever? So at first, I was like, do I really want someone who laid me off speaking for me? You know what I'm saying?
Tell them what I said.
What?
When you said that to the group.
I don't remember.
Do you remember?
I don't.
You don't remember?
No,
I
what'd you
don't
say?
know what you
Y'all
said.
need to go back and read.
I will.
Y'all niggas
I will
don't
now,
read.
but I don't remember what you said.
I said, why would you burn a bridge when it could be an opportunity?
Oh, that's true.
Oh,
you did say. You did say. Yeah, you did. You did. You did say that, and then I,
I thought
was
you
like,
said something else.
No, I
No.
did.
Yeah,
but at first, because again, I was about to get in my
Right,
mail
and
bag,
that's why I was like, hey.
So I after talking and thinking and sitting there, I replied. I said, you know what? I don't have a job because I just got laid off. So who am I to turn down an opportunity or whatever it was? So he reached out, whatever. He sent him a text message, and he actually screenshotted me the conversation that they had and sent it back to me. He was like, look, he's interested in meeting with you or whatever it is. Reach out to him. I'm gonna connect y'all through email.
Yeah.
Just like 2 hours after I done got laid off. So I'm like, all right, cool. When people say stuff like that, I'm kind of skeptical. I don't always think that they're gonna follow through with
Right.
what it is, So he actually sent the email immediately after saying that. So then the other CEO sent me an email back, was like, great to meet you, looking forward to connect. Here's my meeting link. Use it to book time with me or whatever. So it was like later in the evening at that point. So I was like, well, I'll do it first thing in the morning since I'm already off. I'll just do it in the morning. So that whole night, obviously talking with Sharita and things like that about just the situation and the day and all that. And I'm sitting in the bed packing for the trip or whatever, and then I'm up late at night like I always am, and my phone vibrates or whatever. So I think it's like the group chat because everybody had been talking. So I went to go check it, and it wasn't the group chat. It was LinkedIn. That same CEO that I connected with had looked at my LinkedIn profile. So I got a notification that he had looked at it, and then after he had looked at it, he sent me a message on LinkedIn. Was like, "Hey, I want to connect with you and everything like that." And it was 11.
Fire.
It was like 11:30 at night though. He was like, "I want to connect with you." Blah blah blah. So I responded and was like, "Hey, I will. I'll check in with you first thing in the morning. I got your meeting link. I'll use it or whatever." So I had every intention to
Follow through.
follow through. So Friday morning, I wake up, I'm doing my usual routine, get Maya ready for school. I'm taking her to school. Sharita's off, so she's riding with me, which she usually doesn't do. So when she's off, she wants to participate in all this stuff. So we're going to take Maya to school. While I'm on my way, I'm talking to her about the situation from last night. I'm like, I'm going to reach out to him. This is my plan, yada, yada, yada. While we're doing that, I get a text message, and it's the same CEO who messaged me on LinkedIn last night. He texted me first thing Friday morning. He was like, "Look, I don't mean to be pushy or anything like that." He was like, "But I'm free for the next hour and a half." He was like, "I'd love to connect with you. I want to take time to talk to you. Just call me on my phone whenever you get a chance or whatever." So I'm talking to Sharita. I'm like, should I call him now or wait till we get back from the trip? And she look at me. She be like, "If you don't call,"
Right.
She like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, look, we about to go. Like, I know we don't like look, no, but I'm saying like it's like we about to go on this trip.
Right.
I want to be focused on it. Want to be focused on the trip. I know I don't have no job, but if it really is what it is, we'll be back Sunday. It'll be there Monday when I come back. So that was my thinking. Or
Okay.
Tomorrow's not promised.
But
that is
come
true.
on, bro. Come on. But
Hey, listen,
You can read the book.
I do.
You can read
Look.
the book.
I ain't gonna, Melvin, I ain't gonna hold you. I be hating Lace sometimes because when he used the word and he used it in the right way and it's condescending at the same time, we gonna talk about how
But I
condescending
also,
you are
know what I'm
too.
saying? Yeah, he is condescending.
It be making me mad, but it's so.
He do be doing that, and that's what I be saying. But I'm just saying that I also am of the belief that if it is for me, it is for me, and that's why I don't get jealous of other people's success, stuff like that. Because although I rush to get the things, I do believe that what is gonna be for me is always gonna come to me.
Sure,
and
sure,
I
sure.
do know that I do need to act quicker in some instances or whatever. So I did call them.
Mm-hmm.
I did call him while we were in the car. End up talking for about 45 minutes. It was supposed to be a 10-minute phone conversation. It turned into a 45-minute conversation. The more he asked me, the more I answered, the more he wanted to keep talking to me. And then after we got to the 45-minute mark, he was like, "Look, I have to go do something for about 30 minutes, but if it's okay with you, I'm going to call you back because I want to continue this conversation, whatever." So I was like, "Obviously, call me back. I ain't got nothing to do." So he called me back, and we talked for like another hour after he called me back, for real. Like, it was like a 2-hour interview, like just over the phone or whatever. No Zoom, no nothing like that. And at the end of it, he was like, "Look, I feel like you can do this job. I feel like you have everything that we're looking for. If you're interested, this is what it will be. Talk salary, everything to me right then and there." And was like, I could get you connected with our head of HR for Monday, get y'all on a call or whatever. So I said, cool, did that. She emailed me within an hour to schedule the meeting for Monday. So I went into the weekend like, cool, I know Monday I got to meet with her. Met with her on Monday for 30 minutes. She was like, "Look, I want to get you on the line with our COO and our VP of sales. Can you do that tomorrow between 11 and 12? I said, yeah. So Tuesday, I had 2 more interviews with everyone. By Wednesday afternoon, they called me, offered me a job to do what I'm doing now. So from Wednesday, from Thursday, come on, he keeps saying that. He keeps saying not all the hard work and stuff that I put in, not my abilities.
But can I tell it from my
not my abilities and nothing like that.
How is he your greatest work?
Because when he went into the situation, obviously he let us know what was going on, getting laid off or whatnot. Later that evening, you told us about the opportunity.
Yes,
bruh, you need to
go.
You need to
Okay.
connect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take that opportunity.
Okay.
Have that conversation.
Okay.
First, I was like, "Did you negotiate your severance package?" That's what I did.
And I did.
I said, "Did you negotiate your?"
How do you?
And
how
I
do you
did.
Well, we'll get back to
I
Yeah,
did negotiate the severance.
Right. So
the
I
severance
asked him
package.
because he left out the part where we actually called this nigga.
Oh,
was
we
like,
did.
yo, you know what I'm saying?
I forgot about that.
I was
part.
gonna get to that, but we didn't get to that.
I forgot
But
about
anyway,
that part.
but yeah, take advantage of the opportunity in front of you, and that was the pathway into him getting a job less than
A week.
a week later. So yes, I'm taking credit for that, and that's why he is my greatest success
Not
story.
me. Not
Not
my
anything
hard
you
work and my
did.
skills. Anything that I
Oh
did,
no,
it
the
was
hard work.
lace.
The thing is,
It was lace.
I wouldn't bet on you in the way that I do if I
Mm.
didn't think you didn't have the hard work and the skills, and I'm saying that in the meeting.
Uh.
But sometimes we also need that kick in the ass. What are you waiting on?
That's true.
If this door is semi-open, kick the thing open,
You
kick
right.
the thing down. So that's more so what I'm saying from
But I
the
can,
lens of encouragement.
But I can imagine in that moment, like your trust in anything at that time is just depleted. Like the fact that you going from one company and potentially there's another company. Well, I thought I had longevity here, and now you're trying to put me on with your boy somewhere else. I mean, I can imagine like the lack of desire in the moment was probably depleted.
Let me ask you a question. What's your definition of faith?
I know mine.
My definition of faith. That's a really good question. Trust in the promise that was made to me.
So if you trusted in the promise,
Mm-hmm.
and we know that faith is what? The substance
Of
of
things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
unseen. Right. Ain't had no job. Things hoped for.
The evidence
of things
not
unseen.
seen. Mhm.
My and the only requirement is mustard seed.
Right.
Mustard seed.
Mm.
So it's amazing, and that's why I enjoy these conversations. Obviously, we joke.
Yeah.
But that's why I enjoy these conversations, because a lot of times when we going through how all the other stuff
Works.
that ain't got nothing to do with what we
Yeah.
say we believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Comes into play and can cloud when it's like, yo, if the book I read says that he feed the birds, these got nowhere to stay, they eat good. You know what I'm saying? How he not looking out for me?
Right,
true.
that's true.
So that's the only reason why I asked, but it's more so in a joking manner. But that's real, man. That's real stuff. That's real stuff.
No, so Sharita was she definitely, took it like a G, and she told me later why she was, because I told, like, after everything settled, like after all the stuff settled, and I had the conversation, whatever, we had a chance to talk about just everything, because I think that was the other part of it too. I'm like, just got laid off yesterday, you trying to talk to me right now? I ain't even had time to process what
Right.
I need to be doing right now, and you trying to what I'm saying, talk to me. Let me get I'm one of them people that need a plan. I don't do ambiguity. I don't like ambiguous situations. Like, I know some people is fine with that. Like, they're like, it'll be what it'll be. I'm like, nah. What's the plan? I don't have to have it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the end goal is, I don't have to have it right now. But I at least need to know I'm working towards something.
Can I ask you a question? Because you said a little bit earlier, what's for me is for me.
It is.
Okay, and I agree with you in that, because I believe the same thing. But how can you have a plan? Because what's for you is for you, but what you think is for you may not be what's for you.
That's a
so
sober,
how can
that's
you
true.
have?
That's a sober
So
thought.
again,
It's a very sober thought.
the test, but this is the lesson.
You right.
So I'm just curious.
I mean, that
I
does.
believe it is for me in the sense of what he promised me will always be for me. So
For sure.
Depending on however long it may take, even if it don't happen for me as fast as I want,
Sure.
I know that it's for me.
Sure.
That's the lens that I look at it
I got
from.
you.
Not just
I
like
got you.
things are gonna come to me, but that is a true statement.
Yeah.
That you're making. So I'll add that to my belief system as
And
well.
oftentimes we lean into our own understanding of what we think
Mm-hmm.
what is for me should be for me.
And that's the piece. Should.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're right.
Should
You're right.
be for me.
You're
when
right.
like, nah, bruh, my boy, that's not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, and we all had to go through those aspects. I mean, I had my own journey in that, but also being able to really dive into aspects. Okay, like, nah, why am I putting so much pressure? And you should have a plan. I'm not saying people shouldn't have a plan. You should have a plan, but a lot of times our plans are rooted in a level of anxiety, worry, fear, because as you mentioned, you the provider, you hang your hat on that. The first question you ask yourself, how am I going to do this,
Yeah.
that, and the third? Well, sometimes it's, okay, let me sit back and let Big G do his thing, and I can lean into other aspects. So I was just, again, just curious in asking that question.
I know you've had, like, sometimes at night you used to stay up at night thinking about, like, how I'm gonna do this, how I'm gonna do that, da 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 da. Has this changed your perspective and worrying at all, or are you still worrying, or you know what I'm saying?
I stopped worrying as much even before the layoff. Because after I went through that, whole, spill with depression, stuff like that, once I got to a healthier space, I had just made up in my mind that I wasn't going to let tomorrow govern today. So I just started taking days one day at a time so that I wasn't so far ahead of myself, because a lot of the reason why I was staying up at night was because I was trying to figure out tomorrow instead of, worry about today. And it been plenty. I'm talking about, we being honest right now, like it's been plenty of nights being a husband and a father and trying to do this thing where I'm laying in the bed looking at the ceiling with tears in my eyes, figuring out how I'm gonna take care of tomorrow, because there's so much stuff that I want to do for them because of how much I hang on my hat on that situation.
Yeah,
so when you like back when people always used to joke and say like ignorance is bliss and stuff like that, and I really did not understand that. When you ignorant, you don't understand the concept of ignorance is bliss. Until, you know what I'm saying? Until you start to get more information and until you start to learn, until you become aware of something, and then that changed everything. When I was financially illiterate, I was fine. I thought my life was great.
Living.
I thought my life was great. When I was financially illiterate, I thought my life was great, and I treated my family like that, my marriage like that, or whatever it was. And it wasn't until I got around other people who are financially literate and I started learning more about what is necessary to live and like what the future looks like, that a mirror was in my face, and I realized that I didn't really have nothing that I thought that I, was supposed to have. And we had met with a financial advisor one time. My frat brother that my dad connected me with, it was a financial advisor. So he set up a meeting with me and Sharita to just talk about finances and stuff. And I used to be like, oh, finance is straight, because in my mind, everything was taken care of. The bills was being paid and all, like, because everything was, you know what I'm saying? Like none of this future stuff was taken care of, like none of that. So then we met with a financial advisor. And I'm sitting there with her, and you could imagine the pride I feel, because I feel like I'm taking care of my family. You know what I'm saying? So
you ain't doing nothing.
Ain't doing nothing. Nothing. It crushed me, bro. And it took all of me to hold my composure in the meeting, because the more he talked, the more I started to realize how much I did not have it together. And my wife was sitting there listening to him talk about how much we don't have it together. And then me taking that, it's like, it's my responsibility to make sure my family is going in the right direction. And then this man is sitting on the other side of his table basically telling me, like, you ain't doing what you should be doing to take, your family where they're supposed to be headed. And that, granted, was eye-opening and changed, my life, because it made me aware of what I needed to do to make those changes. But in that moment, there are fewer times in my life where I felt lower than I felt in that space because of what he was, putting in my face. And I, like, by the time we got done, I realized, you know how the Bible says a good man will leave an inheritance for his his grandchildren. And in that moment, I realized that the only way that my family was being sustained was because I was living. And if I was to die, they would have nothing. I didn't even have life insurance. We ain't have no money in our savings account. We didn't even have a savings account, bro. Like, I was just paying bills, like just making money, paying. We didn't even have a savings account. We didn't have none of that stuff going on. Wasn't really using the 401k right. Had no investments. Like, it was just a bunch of things that we weren't doing that I thought that we were making happen or whatever it was. So coming into this knowledge and understanding of what is necessary, it started adding this pressure to my life to catch up to where I felt like we should have been, based on the missteps that I made early on in marriage or whatever. So then that's when I say I'm sitting in the bed in the middle of the night trying to figure out how to take care of tomorrow, because now I'm aware of all these things that we're supposed to have. Yeah. And you're like, how am I going to do all that? Like, how am I going to take care of these things? My kids getting older. College is around the corner. I got to worry about that. I'm getting older. I got to worry about retirement. I'm watching my parents get older. I got to deal with that. Bills, you got to take care of bills and all these other types of things. So then you sitting there like, how am I going to do all this stuff? You know what I'm saying? So then you start worrying. And that's where a lot of my worry was coming from. Not because I didn't have faith that God could take care of it. It was just, what is my plan for doing the work? You say faith without works is dead. And I know it's not just going to fall to me in some way. Like, can he orchestrate? Absolutely. But there's a work that I'm going to have to do. So now I'm sitting there like, well, what is the work that I'm going to do? So, figuring that stuff out. So just priding myself on it. And Sharita knows that too. And that was why she, even in getting the news, she later revealed to me that she was not worried. Not because she wasn't worried that I didn't have a job, but she's like, ever since we've been married, she knows that there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make sure that the family is straight. So she never worried about me not having a job because she knew that I would do whatever it took to make sure that they had whatever they needed. And that gave me relief, because just the fact that she believed in me that much to know that I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to take care of them was just like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Like, I can chill a little bit. So then, you know, I think honestly, because of how I handled the situation, things happened a lot faster for me with getting the job, because I know what's going on in the world. People getting laid off at, you know, very fast rates, you know, because of the quote unquote pending recession and a bunch of other things that are going on. And people have been out here. There's people that have been searching for a job for a year, you know, applying and getting denied, can't even get an interview.
Right.
And I'm watching other people go through that experience, watching other men who are husbands and got, you know, families to take care of and things like that. So in that moment, honestly, to me, I didn't even go to thinking God gonna take care of me and supply. I literally was just like, all right, well, at least I know for a couple months I ain't gonna have no job. I had just settled in my mind
that I ain't gonna have no job.
That I ain't gonna have no job because I'm like, I know what's going on, you know what I'm saying, out here. So part of my thought process and why I wasn't acting as quickly with this is because I'm like, I don't even know how long this interview process is gonna take. Like, you're interested, but when is, you know, like, I didn't even have those answers to that yet. So I'm like, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get this bread now because I got stuff to do. So I had already just accepted it. So I mean, the only reason I feel like this is relevant to what we talking about now is because it is, you know what I'm saying, crazy out here, and I know what it is, what it feels like to be a husband or just a man in general and be responsible for people and things and have kids and responsibilities, and you're trying to do the best that you can, and it's just not shaking for you.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just like I can relate to that feeling, and I know it happened quickly for me. But I know there's some other people it's not happening as quickly for. And I was just talking to my little brother about this because he's been trying to find a job since he graduated, and it has not been going the way that he would expect it. And he keeps applying for things, and it's been making him discouraged because he applies and he doesn't even get the interview. He just gets an email saying, you know, we decide to go in a different direction. And he's feeling like, how many times do I need to get rejected before I get a job or before I do it? And I'm like, and I be asking, I'm like, how many jobs have you applied for? He'd be like 6. I'm like, today?
That's
No.
not
I was like, so he said he was like 6. I was like, today? And he was like, nah, 6. I'm like, bro.
Nah, bro.
I said, do you want a job?
Right.
I'm like, do you want a job? And he like, yeah. I'm like, well, if you only have applied for 6 jobs, you don't want no job. I'm like, you literally got to apply for 6 to 8 jobs a day.
Right.
While you looking for a job if you want a job. So then, you know, work with him to try to.
What did he say when you told him that?
He couldn't believe what I was saying. Like, I tried to explain it to him.
Yeah.
Because a lot of kids leave college and they don't have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Because they think like, I have a degree, I should be able to just get a job. And it's like, it's not about degrees.
Nah.
Like, the economy is wild, business going on crazy. So working with him to like understand what businesses are looking for in this time, what the economy means, like how things work and stuff like that, and kind of just painting a better picture for him, helping him redo his resume so that's formatted for what he's trying to do and stuff like that. But he recently had an interview with the Indiana Fever because he wants to do sports communication and stuff like that. So he had an interview with the Fever. He didn't get the job at the moment, but he did at least get the interview. He did get the call. So then to me, talking to him like, all right, at least you know that what's on paper is working now because you were able to get the interview. So, you know, like, keep at whatever. So I would give men the same advice, honestly, right now. Women in general, because I know some ladies listen to this as well. If you're in that situation, keep pushing.
Yeah,
You know
have
what I'm saying?
to.
Like, keep your head up. I know that it's rough. I know that it is. I know that it's hard. I know that it's discouraging to keep applying and have to do 4 interviews and not get the job, or to apply for 20 jobs and get rejected every single. But you have to keep doing it.
You got
to keep doing it. And then like just take some of those points, like some of the things that I talked about in past or just today, as far as like learning how to articulate yourself when you get to that interview, formatting your resume so that it speaks on your behalf before someone can get in your, you know, get in someone's face and stuff like that. And then leverage your network. I'll tell you that too, about relationships and not burning bridges and stuff like that. I think if I had not handled the situation the way that I handled it, he wouldn't have definitely reached out to those.
And in concept, that could be the work, right? We talked about faith without works is dead. The work, you could have done the work months ago for him to see something in you. Now you got to rely on faith for this door to open. So you could have done the work, unbeknownst to you, because I know you was like, you were thinking about, okay, I got to get to work. The work was done. You showcased something that he saw something, even though you all had to cut ties, that you would be a good fit in doing somewhere else. So a lot of times that can be applied, but we don't necessarily think about it in that kind of concept. And the fact too, like, because you mentioned, you think a lot about tomorrow. Tomorrow's the only thing that never comes. We could talk about yesterday. We could talk about today. But when do you get to tomorrow? You don't, because you're always living in today.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, tomorrow never comes, bro.
Yeah.
Like ever. But we got to think about today, and we could talk about yesterday, but tomorrow never comes.
Yeah. I feel you on that. I think
so. That's how, because I really don't. Obviously, like I said, I've suffered, loss and layoffs and like those kind of things in the past. But an OG told me that. He was like, bro, you worried about tomorrow? That you never go see tomorrow. You might as well do that. Today, because you ain't got nothing to talk about but yesterday and today. Tomorrow never comes.
That's good stuff. And you touched on it, but I want to acknowledge it. You kept your composure. I think if you did not keep your composure, I don't know what would have happened.
You never know.
Well, I passed the test.
Yeah,
I passed
no,
the
for
test.
real.
I passed.
Right.
I legit. I just had this conversation with Sharita the other day. I have been failing the same test for a very long time. And most of the time it is about my attitude and my response to things. It is legitimately how I respond to things that happen to me. I have been failing that test for as long as I can remember. Because when something happens to me, I don't care what your reason it is. You're gonna get this response.
Right.
You're gonna feel it however. And I've been down on the hill of I want to be able to respond how I want to respond. I talk about my anger and attitude all the time. It is a part of me. As someone who has dealt with anger, it is not something that goes away. You just learn how to deal with it. You learn how to manage it. It's something that's connected to me for life. And I have to navigate giving full vent to it or how far. And I've always failed that test because I will just, and I think in this moment, God worked quickly for me because I passed the test, because I did not give full vent to what I was feeling. So he, honored me in that way.
Melvin is definitely my greatest work.
It ain't you.
It's my greatest work.
I don't like how y'all take
I'm telling you.
Well, Melvin, I thank you so much for sharing that whole thing, and I hope that you all are encouraged by Melvin's story.
Yeah.
Because we all face it sometimes, somewhere in our life. It may not be in your job, maybe in your family, maybe in your friend group and things of that nature. But we hope that you can keep your composure and all the other things that Melvin mentioned as great points for dealing with these situations. So it's your boy Troy, Life Coach Lace, Melly Mel. It's the Manly D's podcast.
We out.
We out.